When we started with our new garden last year, we inherited this apple tree. It was evident over the summer that it had a lot of dead wood, hadn't been pruned for a long time, and the fruiting was very poor. So we had to be patient and wait until the dormant season before we could do any major work on it. Right, we're going to do some renovation pruning on this apple tree today. We're doing it in the dormant season. You can see the buds, they've not started swelling yet. Once they start to grow, it's really best not to, as the tree will bleed. We've got some handy tools. This is a folding pruning saw. It's quite sharp and it's good because it folds up. You can pop it in your pocket. It's not going to cut anyone. Secateurs, of course. And I've got a decent pair of loppers as well, because for renovation there are quite often some large pieces to be taken out. So a few things to look out for on this kind of tree. The first is probably to cut out anything that's dead, because they're obvious things that must go. So I can see one here. You can see where the bark is completely died and it's exposed the wood underneath. It's very dry and dead, so we need to cut that out. So I'll use some loppers on that. There are some buds there which are okay, so I'm just going to cut it above those. That's it. Then we need to work all the way around the tree, taking out all the dead wood that we can. If it's something major, you may have to weigh up whether to take it out or not. But I can see some very obvious pieces in here. Okay, so I'm going to prune this bit now. Another example of deadness. There are several bits here. Now this bit here is actually alive. It's got some good buds on it. But you can see here that the bark is split. Half of this is dead, and it's only alive on this side. So really, that's not got much future. So I'm going to take it down to where there's some healthy wood here. It's got some buds here, so it's not going to hurt the tree at all. So I can use the saw for that. Try and support the bit that you're cutting. Short pulls. This is a pull saw, so it cuts on the pull rather than a normal saw where it cuts on the push. So I just have to remember that. And there we go. So it's a nice clean cut. I've taken all the dead away, and there's plenty of room for expansion there. So the second thing to look out for, once we've cut out the obvious dead things, is where branches are crossing and rubbing. And you can see here, these branches have been allowed to grow in together. And as the tree moves in the wind, that will rub against its neighbour, and that's where we can get infection in there, and eventually these bits will die back. This piece coming up the middle is fouling several places all around, so I'm going to take the decision and take that completely out. There it is. You can see already it's freed up a lot here, and things aren't rubbing. This one here is going off up into there. Now I'm not going to take this right out because it's got some decent looking buds here, and it's quite far away from anything else, so I'm going to cut that to there. You can always come round for a second go. Just get the rough ones out first and then tidy it up a bit more. Now, there's another one here. Same thing, if I took it right out you'd have a big hole in the middle. But it's got some pretty decent growth, so we'll cut that back to there. You're not cutting right up against this offshoot here, just leave a little bit spare. If you leave too much it will die back, but that should heal over nicely. So this here is an example where in previous years somebody's cut this down, but they haven't cut it close enough to the trunk. So what's happened is it's died back, and now it's potential for letting in infection just there, so we can clean that up and give it a chance, try and make it as clean as possible. And then also the weather's not going to catch in there. The next thing, if we want to, that may be enough on an old tree, you don't want to overdo it, but I want to trim this to suit our needs, and that is, in this case, we don't want it to go too high, we want to have a nice canopy. So on this one, there's a piece here that's going off skyward. Masses of buds here, so I'm not worried about taking that out. Perhaps getting a bit long, so I'm going to reduce that back as well. There are basically two types of bud as we head towards spring. These thinner ones, they're going to produce shoots, but these fatter, sort of fuzzy ones, they're actually going to be flower buds and therefore fruiting. So when we're choosing, we really want to maximise these and minimise these if we don't need the growth. So here it is, the finished product. Hopefully the tree will be happy, and we'll certainly be happy if we get more fruit. So you can do it too. Please subscribe to our channel for more videos.